it certainly became very clear through the discussions around this that many in the different faith groups don't support giving one group dedicated prayer space, and for them that became a very important issue.
Well, that's absolutely clear, isn't it? Freedom of religion? Well, perhaps, possibly, we're going to find out. An interfaith prayer room at Western University in London, Ontario, seems to have become a Muslim prayer room, and as a consequence, five chaplains have resigned. I've got to say, this is not a unique situation. I've had complaints from various people, young people, throughout this country about this sort of thing, also in the United States and even the United Kingdom, where what is meant to be multi-faith becomes Islamic. Now, Faith Goldie went to the university to investigate, and she joins us now. To make this entirely clear, there is a Muslim prayer room, which is fine, and then a multi-faith room. Mm-hmm. I've seen these at airports and universities. They're very bland. If there's any sort of religious iconography, it'll be a simultaneous act of worship. There's a cross, a Star of David, maybe a crescent. Do not offend in any way. But that's not the case here. That's not what I found at Western. So as things are right now, there is one specially designated area for Muslim students to go and pray. And then there is a multi-faith room for ecumenical reasons. What's happening now is that there is going to be a shift for those two rooms to, in a sense, be amalgamated and enlarged. But what you see on your screen right now is not footage of the Muslim prayer space, because there were folks praying in there so often I didn't want to actually interfere with their prayer, their worship. But this is the multi-faith prayer room. Muslim Students Association advertising their Muslim prayer mats. You're going to see very soon a place for headscarves, hijabs, long skirts. This is the multi-faith room? Correct. Head covers, prayer mats. This is all Muslim? Correct. Everything there is Islamic? 100%. The only difference between this, as far as I could tell, and the Muslim prayer room, is that the Muslim prayer room actually is properly segregated. And that is something that actually the university administration, including the woman who I was just speaking there, as she acknowledged, I said, do you know how it's done? Is it women at the back or just women who are menstruating? And she said, we leave that up to the Muslim Students Association. Again, freedom-loving Canada here, folks. So what's the big hoopla right now, you ask? Well, what's happened is that the Muslim space, which has essentially existed there on campus for 20 years, they're demanding more room. So the student government, the student government is now saying, sure, no problem. The chaplains also want a little bit more room. So they're all going to be moving into the university community center. But what's unclear is if the multi-faith space will indeed be designated for prayer in and of itself, or will it just be for chaplains? 5 chaplains have resigned? Correct. Who are they? Including one, Reverend Michael Béchaut. He is the Roman Catholic chaplain, or was, on campus, one of the longest serving, as well as 4 other chaplains who were of the Christian faith. From what I understand, according to Susan Grinrod there, she said, look, they're all of the same denomination, whether or not that means Roman Catholic or not. I find that hard to believe. And look, I've spoken at Western a few times. There would almost certainly be a fairly large evangelical community. I don't know how many Catholics are there. There's a Catholic college, is there not? I mean, nominally at least. I'm not really sure. I can't imagine they're of the same denomination. I can't imagine there are 5 Catholic chaplains. Well, this is what she said. Unfortunately, Reverend Béchaut would not talk to us on camera after initially saying that he would. He said he kind of wants to put this all behind him. He's got many things to look to going into the Advent season and so on, which is, I mean, we sorely missed him when it came to our interviews. It's not reasonable at all. I saw the letter and I think it's ridiculous. So look, this is not about Muslim bashing. No, it's not. Anyone who wants to do that, that's not what we're doing here. This is about being fair and equitable. Well, and the issue, from what I understand from the Reverend's standpoint, is that the consultation process was not to his liking. He would have liked to be consulted, where instead of doing so, they basically had one designate that represented the chaplains who attended these meetings, and along with the student government gave it the check. My issue, though, here is a special treatment of Muslims, because it seems like they're the only ones who are perpetually getting their prayer spaces. So I asked Ms. Grinrod over there why they get treated specially. She said, well, because they have different needs than you. Can we roll that clip? I'll be frank with you. I'm a devout person. I pray several times a day. And from my vantage point right now, it seems as though there are special rights, spaces, privileges that are being granted to the Muslim population at the University of Western Ontario. How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't think that's, the one group has had dedicated prayer space for an awfully long time because we have a lot of Muslim students and they have specific needs. We have a lot of other space on the campus in our affiliated university colleges for all kinds of different groups. Anyone can book space on campus. A student can book space on campus. A group, a club through the USC can book space at any time if they want to.
She's not being entirely unreasonable. I mean, you know the Islamic demand for 5 prayers a day. As a Christian, I'm a Christian too. We should be praying all the time, but not. I mean, there are specific Catholic services during the day, but they're not essential to a layperson.
No, and I understand that. However, if any space can be booked by any person at any time, well, then Muslims are free to do that too. If we have the time, Michael, I'd like to play one more clip. I asked, what if Jews asked for their own?
Let's do that very quickly now.
If a Jewish student group comes up tomorrow and says we would like to have our own space, one that is free from other faiths, that observes our rules as the Muslims have, to the point where they even segregate men from women and women who are menstruating. If a Jewish group came up and asked, would the University of Western Ontario be willing to accommodate the Jewish population as they do the Muslim population at this school?
We'd have to consider what their requests are and what their requirements are.
The exact same as what the Muslims are asking for.
Well, we haven't been asked for that, and we haven't been asked by any other group over time for any more space.
It's not a perfect answer, but it is an answer. Muslim students, Muslims in general probably at this point, seem to be more determined and devout in their faith, I have to say this, than many Christians and Jews. Orthodox Jews probably wouldn't be there. They'd have their separate places, other universities, colleges or seminaries. And evangelical Christians, very devout, but it will probably be on a Sunday. And as for, the Catholic Church, there probably aren't that many people who are looking for do they say Mass there? I'm sure they do. They must.
I'm not too sure. I mean, there are Catholic-affiliated colleges on campus, but I would say if you're a Western student, you're watching this, and you love your faith, demand that prayer space. If you knew Reverend Berchaud over here, if you lament the loss of him as well as 4 other chaplains, go see your student government, see what you can do about this, because again, we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle here, but something stinks when there are 5 people that are quitting their university posts. There's an issue.
Let's be honest, there's a context here. There is a context that there is a certain Islamic triumphalism, and it's impossible to deny that if we're brave, intelligent people. That doesn't mean there's no dialogue. We must be ecumenical. We must reach out. We must understand and empathize. But that's mutual, not just from one side. And if people just keep saying yes, 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 well, you can't blame some for saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And Faith, as always, it's a pleasure. Good stuff. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Michael.